So the amazing thing about Monster Hunter, right off the gate, is this opening right here. Now, when we hover over the Monster Hunter Wilds beta theme, what do we first get? This is the main theme of Monster Hunter Wilds. And so we get the slowed down version of it, which is really exciting. So listen to how we get the faster version in this particular rendition. It's stunning, and obviously it builds up, and then we get a real like peak of it up here. Right, that's an incredible theme. I mean, I literally almost cried when I listened to it for the first time. So here we get that slowed down version of it. And I think this is such a nice touch. And I don't think anybody ever really talks about how cool it is that we... Now, obviously, for those of us that are PlayStation fans, I'm really still kind of pissed at Sony for removing themes from the PlayStation. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. It's fucking not. It's the worst idea that Sony's ever come up with. But anyway, so it's cool that we start off with this. Super ethereal, right? Very simple piano, kind of hinting at that again. And then we just dive in. We just say, okay, it's time. As we fast forward through this, we get this really interesting main theme here on the title screen. I find it interesting that it's that quiet build-up, right, that we heard in that previous theme. Well, actually, that is the main theme that we listened to, so it would be here. Except we get the, like, super dialed-back motivic version. And what's interesting to me about this particular main theme right off the bat is that when we see the title screen, the title of the actual game, that's where we get that motif. And I think that that's really cool. And again, that's like such a unique and special thing that only really happens with video games. This is sort of a loose idea, but Monster Hunter Wilds, essentially the name Monster Hunter Wilds has a theme attached to it, which is, I mean, I think really interesting. Then we have this, and it's like sort of windy, dusty, you know, it's sort of like what's happening, you know what I mean? Then we have another little reference to that theme in the cello, dancing with the flute. Isn't it cool too how, if you take a listen back, you can hear how the piano still dances with us the whole time. And it's interesting too how musically we also are combining the flute in there, or sorry, the oboe in there, which is really interesting because it adds a really nice textural quality. And I've been saying this for a while now that I do believe that if you were to put Monster Hunter's music in a symphony hall, like just the orchestral pieces, like this for instance, I really believe no one would know the difference if you compare this to classical music, right? I think that that's something that's really fascinating about Monster Hunter's music in particular, and there are other games, of course, that provide the same sense. These pieces are so well orchestrated and so well written from a dynamic perspective, and they're not very simple. They're complex orchestral arrangements that are phenomenal. They easily belong on stage with Prokofiev or Mozart or Beethoven or what have you. Then we get a little bit of that, like, exotic sound with sounds like I don't know the official title, but it has this, like, synthetic build almost. I love that little piano accent over top. that gorgeous yada yada beautiful flute melody there that really I think sets us up for like this wonderful, like, I don't know, it feels like the desert landscape in a way, right? It's very interesting how this particular theme oscillates between sort of ambience and melodic at the same time. It's a really nice way that it transitions from that da 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 into now. Isn't that cool? Fascinating curiosity in that, again, the cello mixed in with the flute, and then the piano's constantly moving. What? They announced a Monster Hunter gacha game? Shut the fuck up. No, they did not. What? What? What is this? Timmy? Oh, God. Oh, shut up. Outlanders? Wait, I just realized, I just thought of something. The technology's advanced so far that any of the old games, like the games on the 3DS or any of the older Monster Hunter games, could actually work really well on a mobile format, right? Like, I mean, theoretically, but they're gonna nickel and dime that shit. You wanna have a good ghillie suit? Well, you gotta pay $199. Shut the... Hey, listen, if this is the musical quality, then I'm like fucking here for it. Oh my God, it runs like ass though. This is cool though. Why would they put this in here? It doesn't look good. Shut up. This is cool. Oh my God. Oh my God. Musically, it's very like Welcome to the New Frontier. It's got a great vibe to it musically. I mean, like, you think I'm not going to play this? It's a little on the nose melodically, musically, like a lot of the other Monster Hunter tracks from the mainline series have a little bit of a build-up, so it's clearly like, I don't think it's the original composer. This feels like it's not a parody, but it's essentially borrowing the original concepts of what Monster Hunter sounds like, rather than the actual like compositional team. Here we go. So this is cool because it's really like ethereal and very, very like tribal, very primal sound, of course. I think it really leans into the idea of being a wide open world that's different than what we've seen before. And also the lower piano register was really interesting to listen to. And I also think it does a great job of setting up the sort of like, it's a very obviously peaceful sound. This character creator's music doesn't really feel like it's about being a hero. It's more about like being this thing that lives in the environment. It's cool. And I also think that that was one of the cool things about the beta itself, is that I felt like I was like a living part of the environment, but not an active participant, which Monster Hunter's always done really well. It's funny because someone was talking about Rain World the other day, but in a lot of ways, Rain World and Monster Hunter are not that dissimilar, are they? Because the ecosystem functions on its own, just like it does in Monster Hunter. Maybe Rain World's because it's like condensed down into like a smaller package. It's able to do it maybe even more interestingly. But I think that's one of the cool things about Monster Hunter, is that you're like, you can be an observer, you can be, you know, go on your expeditions. The world doesn't revolve around you. And somehow this character theme kind of feels the same way. Like that's the whole dum dum da dum. Like that's it, right? All in the lower register. Very simple, very elegant. We have a little bit of that instrument up top. That's that sort of exoticism, if you will. And just to be clear, exoticism is not like a bad word. I think that there composers throughout history have used soundscapes from, you know, lands that they weren't necessarily familiar with, for better or for worse. It can also pay homage and respect from a like a different area. Exoticism is something that we've seen a lot in Carmen, the opera Carmen. You see it a lot in Madama Butterfly. You see it a lot even in Fanciullo del West, which is Giacomo Puccini, an Italian composer, writing an opera about the Wild West in America. And that's technically exoticism because it's not like Puccini lived there. And then you have the little accent. You also have the nice little accent, and I will say that happens throughout this entire beta, and will happen throughout this entire game. Reusing that motif, that literally that lick, ba da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 da. We're using that lick pretty much throughout this entire game. There's an interesting way that the piano shifts into this sort of discordant sound quality, where it goes from instrumental into this muted, almost muffled, compressed sound. Not here, hold on. And then we fast forward. And I like how this really sounds like possibility, right? Right? Sustain that piano upper register, and then right? And then this again. Sort of like, I think that's really cool. Well, what's it trying to say? Why would it do that? Why would it sort of get a synthetic sound quality to it? Maybe it's about discovery. Maybe it's about, like, you know, entering into a new world. Maybe it's about, the crunch could be about danger, right? And so like a mixture of beauty and danger. I don't know. It's really cool. And there's that motif again. Da-da-ya. Well, that sounds like Elder Scrolls. Hold on, that sounds like Elder Scrolls. Ba-da-ya, da-da-da, da-da-da, ba-da-da, 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 ba-da-da-da-da. I don't know why that's there. But I really like that bassoon mixed with this almost rain. And then again, the upper register piano has a sound quality of rain, possibility, you know, all that sort of stuff. All right, so then we thrust in. Hopefully I didn't name him something embarrassing. No, I went with Marcus. Oh, no, I went with Marco? Okay, I went with Marco. Very boring. So then we dive in, and it's pretty interesting. I want to hear the transition.
Let's do this.
Let's do this. It's such a smooth transition. And this is cool. So as the ship expands out, we get blood, you know? And obviously this sounds to me like, and if anybody in here is a sort of Middle Eastern, Egyptian, Indian expert in music, let me know. But it sounds like a duduk. And that's an amazing little lick, you know? And then we pull back, and that's a really cool shot where we pull back, and suddenly we're like, there we are. We're in, immediately you know where you are. You know immediately that you're in a desert with that soundscape. Nice crescendo there as the brass sort of pushes into it.
So far. Oh, hey there.
Hey! Over here!
And what was cool to me about this background, nice pause, that it really is inobtrusive. It's essentially one instrument that's just guiding the like musical ideas around. I thought that was really nice.
I've selected you as a lead hunter for this expedition. Thank you, sir.
Heavy emphasis on percussion, and then there's that main theme again. Da 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 ba 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 ba. That's actually the proof of a hero motif. That's cool.
I've selected you as a lead hunter for this expedition. Thank you, sir.
Ba 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 ba
Won't
because we say, I'm selecting you as the hero. That's cool.
be easy. You'll need the proper guide.
Twinkling bow and so on and so
Speaking of
forth.
which, I have an extra assignment.
Resetting
for you.
back to like this real sort of subliminal piano, a little bit of possibility. So then this is really cool because as we are encroaching on the danger, we get a shift in music, which is really cool.
Time to part!
Again, interesting how we go with like a synthetic, it veers away from the naturalism of the traditional orchestration and it really goes in. Has there ever been a Monster Hunter that has really deviated from the orchestral sound and gone with a more synthetic electronic soundscape? Because it does appear here quite a bit.
There's so many. They're exceptionally agitated. Could they be chasing something? It's a person!
That's such a neat little moment, isn't it? Says, it's a person. Bah, bah, bah. Immediately we thrust into it.
Exceptionally agitated. Could they be chasing something? It's a person!
Heavy elements there.
They just passed us!
And crash right into them!
Then what do we do? Hold on.
Love this percussion right there.
That's all right.
Can you reach it?
Try.
You know what I really like about the fact that we do that with the percussion there is that it's actually really subtle, and so it ends up feeling really intense because it's like da-da-doom, ba-da-doom, boom, ba-da-doom, 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 boom, ba-da-doom, ba-da-doom, and I think that's a really satisfying rhythmic intention there and a rhythmic propulsion that's really satisfying to listen to. Again, more of this synthetic crunch, a little bit of dissonance in there. It's such a neat little thing to then pull back as we're like, is he gonna make it? Is he gonna make it? That's that typical like, let's extend into this echo, almost no sound or like a distortion, and then watch, as soon as we hit it, he'll make it. Back in, right? Now we actually, this is interesting because we almost end up in like a much more of an element there with the violin, or what? It's probably more of a viola or a cello. But this is when we get thrust into a new musical idea.
Here we go. Hold on.
And then hear those horns. Ba, ba, ba. That's just like 3 descending notes. And yet it's amazing how ba, ba, ba can do a great job of like, oh no, this is bad. You know what I mean? But there's a dire straits in it, which is really cool, especially when you consider how these guys are just like at our sides at all times. And then the second time it appears, that's really cool. Let's pay attention to that. The second time it appears, we actually have harmony there with the other horns, the other set of horns. Ba, 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 right? Right. And again, that makes it really dire too. Dum bum 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 bum.
Looks like it knows a way.
Yeah, so again, very subtle shift there, but one of the things that's really worth pointing out is the fact that here we have essentially this moment of stillness as we're floating down. I mean, this is what I'm talking about by like little design details musically that really enhance a piece. Most people totally don't even pay attention to it, myself included sometimes, because there's so many little details. But even here, I was thinking to myself like, oh, this is a little bit boring. I should fast forward. I should skip forward. But if you really take a listen, it makes perfect sense why we would pull back on the music here as we're... Watch, ready? Notice how we pull back here musically. The drums are still there, and then as we start to land, and I think also too, it does such a great job because now that the girl and the are down in here, now it really picks up in volume again.
I know what to do.
Heavy percussion you hear as well. Now, because of speed, now we're really going. It's the Balaharas and the secrets. Here, there's even more of a forward thrust. Because now we're actively being chased by the Balahara, and we're trying to get away from them as fast as possible. Right. Really nice horn accents there as well. Dissonance in those horns, it's so cool. It's such a cool little touch. Ba, 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 ba. Interesting dissonance in those horns. Dissonance there. Dissonance there with the crescendo.
That can bring those rocks down.
And now it's a reset. And now we're at peace, so there's a reset there. We're out of harm's way. But then we're not. Boom! You hear how the horns go bop? That's it's such a cool thing because the Balahar just jumps out of nowhere and it hits you in the face. Oh, hell yeah. And then we get a break musically. I think it's cool to use a heavy horn. Right, that's very cool. It sets up this big, big bastard. It's interesting how with the Chotacabra we get some really interesting spooky strings there, which is very, very intense. Obviously, it leaves us feeling like, oh shit, this thing is terrifying. Again, I'm talking like little microscopic details that make or break the musical experience. Now, you could technically not have any music here. It probably would sound fine, but having that little extra of like, holy shit, this guy's got a huge long tongue. It's disgusting. It's terrifying. He's big. He's licking the shit out of that dude. It's really, really, really scary. And then those horns again thrust into our face as we think about the fact that there's a scary quality and a size quality to the Chupacabra, which is pretty cool.
No! Stay away! Come on, bud. We have to run.
The descending notes really are like a sense of urgency. You know what I mean?
Go!
I can't just leave him.
I'll help. Hurry!
This is terrific. I mean, again, that's this type of music where it's like we have to move. We're in a hurry. We're stressed. We're afraid. It's so cool. And also, like, it's actually kind of crazy. And it's so satisfying to have this musical language that has been around for hundreds of years. And yet we're still finding ways to evolve through it and create ideas mentally, create ideas sonorally, to represent feelings, to represent emotion, to represent fear, to represent monsters themselves. And that's the really cool thing about Monster Hunter, in my opinion, is that it's able to use classical orchestral writing, or electric guitar, of course, when we're talking about Zinogre and stuff, to describe and to showcase like characters. It's really freaking cool. What we're hearing right now is something that we've been doing in operas or in tone poems or whatever. And in fact, in some ways, it's more advanced than those things. It's cool. All right, so now we move into the sort of like the theme, the general battle theme of the Wildlands or whatever this area is. It starts with this blah 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 blah, which is really cool.
Immediately neutralize this.
So there it's cool because I know that my sound effects are pretty loud, so bear with me. I'll try to discuss it as it happens. But something that's really cool there is we get the really nice horn accents. Ba, 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 ba. Some really cool things happening in there. There's some orchestration there in the lower strings. It sounds like bo ba-da-ba-do, ba-da-ba-do, ba-da-ba-do. Then on the flip side, the upper strings going da 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 ya da da da, which is interesting because there's a clash there. And the music in this game feels fuller than it ever has. The fact that it's dynamic with the gameplay will make this Monster Hunter a truly special experience musically. I think you're right. It's a very, very full sound, and dynamically, it feels like it's very front and center as well, which is pretty interesting. You hear how like a little bit of dissonance. I apologize that my sound effects are a little loud. In the future, when I record, I'll make sure to turn off, lower my sound effects. That's unfortunate and frustrating for me. Also, some really nice things is that we do get a bit of a solo with some sort of instrument that I actually don't know the name of, but I love how it goes. This is really, really cool.
It's going to attack.
There's really nice moments in there too. There's also a really nice moment where we get that ba-ba-ba-bum, which is really, really satisfying. It's just such a neat sound. Let's listen to a clean version. love about this music to me from an emotional standpoint is the fact that when we listen to it, you know, a medium monster would be really easy to not give a shit about. But what they've chosen to do, first of all, texturally, like that's a really clean sound. That's super brassy, super string focused, of course. There's a bunch of like over the top accents, which I think are really interesting. From an emotional standpoint, that particular music leaves us feeling like shit, like this is dangerous. You know what I mean? And I think it does a really good job. Now, obviously, right? But it does a really good job of adding a sense of stress. It doesn't really feel like it's pointed towards us. It actually feels like it's pointed towards the monster itself. There's a degree of stress in that music that's geared towards the monster pointing itself at us rather than us being triumphant. And that's something that Monster Hunter does consistently, where it'll, you know, have themes for monsters themselves rather than being about the hero. They're actually about the hunted. And I think that that's a really, really, really interesting way of creating music so that we don't necessarily always feel comfortable. One of the hardest and most challenging things about Monster Hunter is that every time you get into a battle, you are this close to death. Like, it does require like legitimate practice to be good at fighting these things. And I like how even in a simple monster like the Chatabara, is that what it's called? We still get that sense of stress. And especially because that's the first encounter we have in the game. Like isn't that cool? And then on the streets you get da 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 ya da da ba, you know? And I love the accent. It's a little spicy. There too, I mean, like, what a fantastic thing. In between that crazy nice high lick with the trumpet, you also get the brass, the trombone going boom, boom, and it just punches you in the face. It's so cool. And then it switches to this almost like boom, bum, 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 boom, 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 boom. I actually don't know what instrument this is. That is so interesting, because maybe the guitar like instrument is actually our theme. You know what I mean? Like, again, I'm just like making it up, but that's the best part about music, is that yes, we're watching the context, we're experiencing the context, but there's also like this beauty in just like exploring and feeling what music could mean to us individually. And it's something that's really important. Like that, that's all about driving forward. Bam, ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum. That's all about moving. You feel like that's like moving, but with danger and with a little bit of hesitation. And there's the motif. There's the motif. I know I'm yapping quite a bit, but I mean, you could be anywhere else and you're here, so I'm a yap. Like, even here, look at that, how subtle that little like motif is. And that's the motif of the Hunter, I think, and the Grand Fleet. That's the motif of like, you can do this. There too. It's both of them. It's interesting. It trades instruments. Right there, right? Very subtle though, if you're not listening. So I think the legato line, and when I say legato line, I mean this sound right here. Let's listen. You hear how that is in direct opposition to the horns? Now let's isolate our ears and listen to the horns. You hear how there's a little bit of clash there? And then listen to, now one more time, listen to the percussion. You hear how that's in direct opposition. So that it's so obviously we have rhythm and we have melody, but it's interesting how the horns represent the Chotacabra, The strings represent us because they're smaller. The horns are obviously representing something bigger because the horns are making a bigger sound. And then interestingly enough, the rhythm in that little corner is actually representing this duel, this fight between the two of us. I think that that's a really cool thing. Who knows if that's correct? Doesn't really matter. But it's really fun to think like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Right? And then obviously we get like the chase music and stuff. But let's head over back to my gameplay here and let's fast forward to, as always, chase music is basically, and this is what we just filmed a video on dynamic music yesterday. But this is a really cool concept because this is like the definition of dynamic music that changes in and out of battle. Oh my god, I just put 2 and 2 together. This person named their character Gojo Satoru from JJK. I swear I'm like only good at this game with the light bow gun. I really want to be good at the longsword, but I'm just ass. I'm just terrible. I like how we still get tension, but now it's all like pulled back, so it's like a lot of harpins in there. Bum 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 bum. Right, it's cool. And it's almost like we still get that main motivic idea of the medium monster sound, bum 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 bum, but it's just like a little bit covered. It's pretty cool. And that's really fun. It's like sort of like classic sound of a storm. Look at this bastard laying down. Troll. And then of course there we get ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da, da-da-da-da, ya-da-da. Really gorgeous little rendition there of the Proof of a Hero, which is the highlight for defeating your foe. But it's different than the other ones. Da 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 da, ba da da ba da 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 do. It's very chill. I want to see about this town theme really quick. I like that there's an essential like sort of tribalism in that it feels storied. It feels old. I love the bouncing quality in this. Obviously, you get boom, 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 bum, bum, but it's really that flute up top, that sort of pan flute sound that really, I think, sends it home in a really big way. That flute up top is so inviting, and it's also like playful. I mean, listen to it. I mean, like, you don't need me to tell you that, but like, let's listen. And then underneath you have essentially like a counter melody here. Oh, I didn't realize it was laying eggs right there. Or nursing its eggs. But I love it because we're essentially like trading off instruments. Like there's an instrument here, there's an instrument there, there's an instrument here. And what it does is it creates a lived-in environment to me. When I hear multiple different instruments sort of dancing off of each other, it feels like a celebration. It feels like a dance. And that's really, really fun because it's a village that's been around for a really long time. It's like a proud people. I know there's more that we could listen to that, but I want to get to the night theme. That percussion is interesting. Obviously twinkling, it feels like rustling wind. Distant piano, upper register. Very sleepy quality. Yeah, ba da da, yeah, ba da da, yeah, ba da da. See, that's so crazy. I mean, like, again, did you hear the theme there? I don't know. They're throwing this main theme everywhere. It's really interesting how right here we hear it. But we're talking about like an interval. Like this is the magic of music and the magic of like setting a motif early, because it literally it's just three notes. I mean, it's an interval. It's a freaking interval. Like there's nothing about that is like, that's the main theme. And yet, because we've heard it now like 5 times throughout different fights and in the main theme, of course, it's amazing how they're interjecting it very subtly, but not like in your face where it's constantly playing. Dum 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 dum. It's also really cool that we still have like a lot of rhythmic drive in here, because we're going boom, bum 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 ba dum ba dum bum bum, and that's really fun because it allows for a forward movement, even if we don't always listen to the rhythm, even if the rhythm is temporarily there front and center. What it does is it sort of sets up that undercurrent, so we're essentially like existing within that rhythm but underneath the soundscape. You know what I mean? Interesting strong brass there with that lower register tuba and trombone. And the last thing I'd like to say about that is that, it's really cool too how we get in the day theme. It's a very bright, normal. This is such a standard approach to music where in the day themes are always brighter. usually faster rhythmically, very much more melodic, front and center, so on and so forth, right? But on the night theme, in this particular case, we have that that percussion. It's very bassy percussion. It's really like it sits in a real low spot. Then on top of that, we have that flute in the day theme that really kicks up front and center. It's really like, it's sort of improvisational. It feels very like, yes, we're happy to be alive. Right. But in the night theme, we replace that with the chimes, with maybe a harp, another stringed instrument. And so what you end up with is this interesting mix of, one is very like traveler friendly, very, very transient, and the other is more homey and more docile. What I find really interesting about this, the Kunafa Village themes, is that the day theme and the night theme are not necessarily that similar, which is a nice surprise because technically this is also dynamic music because it's a same place but different tunes depending on the time of day and so on and so forth. And I have to say it's really impressive to not just have it be like a carbon copy slower version of something. Like it still has essences of it, but it's essentially its own little beast. All right, and then I want to hop over to Ray Dao's theme. Visually, Ray Dao is really fascinating, sound design wise as well. Having the sort of jewel sound quality exist is pretty neat. Love that sound effect right there. Like the gemstone crashing into the ground. So one thing that I really liked about this particular moment for me as I was playing it was it goes and it instantly thrusts us into the action. Now let's get a clean version here and talk a little bit about it. So you hear how emphatic the horn is right away. That's instantly like, who dares disturb my slumber? I'm here, bitch. I'm about to kill you. That's the sound that comes across there right away. The other thing worth noting is that when we start that fight, whether it's whatever, this is a different version than mine, obviously, but right, that's the chaos of the lightning storm. That's the chaos of this giant wyvern. That's the chaos of just like not knowing what its attacks are going to be. That's the chaos of just like its size. See, you can even hear the shimmering of the gems. That's the other really cool thing in this, in a couple seconds in. You can hear the twinkling of the gems in that. And I think this little corner is the highlight of this theme for me. Yeah? I mean that's so cool, guys, because like that's such a big swell. I mean, like let's look at first instrument, second strings, heavy brass there, duduk comes together, and then it's so loud. I mean, dynamically, we're talking here. Like, there's so much shit in there. You know what I mean? Like, that's fucking crazy. And that those big blasts too, that's the lightning, that's the thunder. I mean, that's there's a massive heft in there that's really satisfying. That's the twinkling again. Da shum bam. And coolly about that is that the strings are moving in a pattern where you don't know if they're going left to right. Like it's a cool thing about the strings is that like they're shifting tides. So like, are they going here? Are they going here? Are they going here? Are they going here? We don't know. It's chaos. I mean, that's like the whole point, right? Dum, dum. And then here, this little corner is like very majestic, isn't it? It's not dissimilar to the village theme, but here we get like ba ya ba da da ya da da ba da do in the upper flute there. It's got majesty, it's got size, it's got grace to it too, despite the fact that the lower section of that, if I can re-listen to it in a second, feels very heavy still. Yeah. Especially with that rhythm. Some nice doubling in there. Let me pull back. A little bit of almost sounds like vocals. It's a little bit. This is a little bit more contemplative, right? But it's still like, holy God! Do you see that thing? Do you see that thing right there? Oh my God, it's huge! Like that's the sort of mentality where it's like, okay, well, like I gotta. There's a little bit of fear there for that hunter. Dum 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 dum. A little bit of synthetic there, a little bit of muffled. Bum 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 ba dum bum ba bum 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 ba. There's the motif. And that's such a sick, of course, people, that's one of the most replayed sections, but like, that's the real like rub right there. That's where it all kind of coalesces into that main motif there. And again, that main motif probably for us, but there's an inherent fear in that motif because you know? Love that. Wait, that's not the main motif, but something else. I'm so sorry. That's such blue balls right there. But the other thing that's really cool about that is we get this fantastic. I don't think that's the Ray Dow theme. I don't think that's the main theme of the game. But the other thing that's really fantastic about that is here you get the sick rhythm, and that again. I mean, like forward drive. That's dum 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 shadum dum da. While over top we're getting this pretty florid. It's sick. That's like such good, simple motivic writing with 8 notes. Ba 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 da da. Like that's 8 notes. It's fuck. Da da da. And it changes key. And also, again, like, let's think about how virtuosic, well, also what a smooth, gorgeous transition, but like, let's think about how virtuosic that little corner is with that violin. It almost sounds like, has that pressed in quality of like a fiddle almost. It's very like, you know, it's like, it's angry, right? Did you feel like it's pressing into that violin really forcefully? And then it comes together again. That low brass. Explosive energy. I mean, explosive energy. I mean, it's hard to not to get amped up by it, but like, it's explosive. Right? Jesus. Bum, bum, bum. And that lightning storm is so in your face. Boom, boom. It gives me Ace Combat vibes, actually, because Archange and Soul Squadron and a couple other, well, really those two pieces really focus on that jet engine sound. And it's an incredible thing when you can take an instrument and allow it to build up a quality where it sounds like a thing. And the other thing worth noting, this shit's been going on for years, you guys. I mean, like years. Storm Trio from Rigoletto is a prime example of a storm set to music. Hear that? That's a storm. Ooh, that's a storm. That's like, oh, the wind. Right there, I mean, like, bow, shot, right? And I also think that the flute there represents like the majesty of it. I mean, we're talking about like a giant flying wyvern. I mean, even right there, look at the size comparison. I mean, so we know it's incredible how majestic this wyvern is, despite the fact that, but even here, look at the size difference. Its head is as big as us. And we hear that crystalline sound, and that also appears in that music as well. It's such an interesting touch. Well, anyway, all that to say, I'm really excited about Monster Hunter Wilds. I will probably be absolutely terrible at it. I've been so indecisive about what weapons to use. I have no idea what my plan is. I'll probably just have people come and play with me because, well, that's how I beat Monster Hunter World as a light bow gunner. I'll probably end up sticking as a light bow gunner. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you enjoyed me breaking down the ins and outs of everything I heard in the Monster Hunter Wilds beta. Well, not everything, but most things. As always, thanks a ton, and I'll see you later.